Good morning, my friends, and happy Friday. Today we are going to make some angels and fairies, and we're even going to make dancing angels and fairies. So lots to show you. Let me show you my fairies. Oh, but first, did you guys see my holiday bamboo tree? If you watched last night's video, you know exactly what it's about. And if you didn't, I will show you my fun little plant stakes that we made last night. And you can always re-watch last night's video if you're interested. But in the meantime, let's make some fairies. So this is my Christmas fairy right here, and I have a dancing angel, and of course they're all fun and colorful and sparkly. And here is a pair of Victorian Angel Earrings. So this is, I'll just show you one of each earring. I think that will be enough for now. So this is what the Victorian Angel looks like in gold. And of course, we also have a Victorian Angel in silver. And we have a pair of dancing angels. And I love these guys. I love the movement. And, oh, but wait, there's more. There's one more. And this is the Starry Night Angel. And the Starry Night Angel is pretty dainty. If you're a dainty earring wearer, you will like this one. So we have lots of earrings and pendants and fairies to make, so we are going to get started.
Angela says good morning.
Hi, Angela. Good morning.
Meg says good morning.
Good morning, Meg.
Lori says good morning, Irina and Tony, and sends lots of holiday emojis.
Good morning, Lori.
Including
and
snow, which matches
holidays.
our weather.
Oh, yes, it is snowing here in Wisconsin. It's not like really pretty, but I think it's on its way to being really pretty. So
Lonnie says good morning, just finished last night's video.
Good morning, Lonnie. And you know what, Lonnie? I believe it was you who asked me to make these plant stakes long ago. So I don't know if this is exactly what you had in mind, but this is what I came up with.
Fonda says good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. These are so cute.
Good morning, Fonda, and thank you so much. Happy Friday.
Trudy says good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Trudy.
Gail says morning.
And good morning, Gail.
Meg says love these.
Thank you so much, Meg.
Lonnie says these are also creative.
Thank you so much, Lonnie.
And Katie S says good morning, all. Happy Friday.
Good morning, Katie, and happy Friday to you. All right, ladies, we have a lot of angels and fairies to make. So shall we get started? I'm thinking, yeah, let's do it. Okay, so which one should we get started with? Maybe, what do you think? We'll get started either with the Starry Night Angels or the gold Victorian angels, because they're pretty much made exactly the same way. So let's pick one. If you feel like voting, please do. Otherwise, I will pick one.
Meg says great idea with the plant stakes.
Oh, thank you so much, Meg. So very easy to make.
Lonnie says yes, I've made a lot of plant stakes.
Oh, fantastic. Maybe you can share them with us on the Facebook page.
Denise says it's the weekend. Happy beating.
Yes, happy beating to you as well, Denise.
Lindsay says good morning, Irina, Tony, Lauren, and all.
Good morning, Lynn. And happy Friday. All right, ladies. So we are going to start with the Starry Night Angel. Very, very simple. We are just going to string all of our beads on a head pin. So I'm starting out with the Starry Night bead, and just for a little reference, this bead is 10 millimeters, just for sizing. So you can see it's the biggest part of this earring. It's not very large. And next we have a lovely little pair of wings. And once you have the wings on, we are going to string the 4 millimeter pearl. So this is a very dainty little angel, and it has, or she has, I should say, a 4 millimeter pearl for its head, and then a little halo that is made with a daisy spacer. So she's very dainty. The daisy spacer is also 4 millimeters, possibly just a hair over 4 millimeters. And now, very simply, we are going to make a wrapped loop. So because it's not a very long head pin, we're going to start the loop pretty close to the daisy spacer. So as you can see, I am just making a 90-degree angle as close as I can get to the daisy spacer. There is just naturally going to be a little bit of a gap. I mean, a tiny, tiny little gap, maybe a 1 millimeter gap, and that's really all we need. And now with our round nose pliers, we're just going to start making a wrapped loop. And of course, whenever you make a wrapped loop, you go in the opposite direction of the band. And I stop at half a loop, and then I simply guide the wire with my fingers the rest of the way. And center your loop, so it's going to look something like this.
Trudy says, love the plant steak. Watched you make it last night. Came in late to the party.
Thank you so much, Trudy. I'm glad you watched. It's such a fun way to give a plant. If you're giving somebody a plant, as I do very often for the holidays, I love giving and receiving plants. And in fact, this bamboo plant was given to me for my birthday, and I absolutely adore it. It grew so much in a year. And so it's just so much fun to enhance it by putting a stake with a fun ornament in it. Okay, so now I'm just going to wrap my loop. So all I have to do is just wrap into that little opening, and we'll snip off the excess wire.
Ellen says, hi, Irina and everyone.
Hi, Ellen, and thanks for joining us. And we'll just tuck in our little tail, and now all we have left to do is just add an ear wire. So you open the ear wire just the same way you would a jump ring, string our angel on, and you have an earring. Ta-da! Here is our angel earring. Okay, so now we're going to move on onto the Victorian Angel Earring. And since we already did the order, I am just going to string. I'm not necessarily going to make the wrap loop because we just reviewed the wrap loop. But because there are some differences, I would like to just show you the order of the beads because there are some subtle differences. So first we have our cone bead, our very sparkly cone bead. Then I gave her a little bit of a body. I elongated her body with a Swarovski bicone, not a bicone, but rather a rondelle. And the reason I did this is because it simply did not look right to me with just the pair of wings right on top of the cone. So we have the rondelle, and then we have the wings. And now we're going to string on her head, which is a 6mm pearl this time. And we have a very sparkly little halo for her. So there's her halo. And the other difference is that before we make that wrapped loop, we're also going to string on an 11-0 seed bead. And you're probably wondering, why do we need an 11-0 seed bead? But if you have ever used these little rondelles, the rhinestone rondelles for halos, you probably know it is concave on the top and the bottom. It's concave, so it's actually very difficult to make a wrapped loop right into the rondelle. However, if you add that seed bead, the seed bead sits flush with the edge of the rondelle, and now it's going to be very, very easy to make that wrapped loop. So since we already reviewed the wrapped loop, I'm not going to do it right now, but I'm just going to show it finished.
Lori says, that's so cute. What size is her halo?
Oh, thank you so much. I'm glad you like her. And her halo is 6mm, just as her head. So it is a 6mm halo. Okay, so now we are going to move on to the next Victorian angel. And this is going to be the Victorian Angel in silver. And again, I'm just going to go through the order of beads because, again, there is something just a little bit different when you make this angel. And the main difference is that, as you can see, the bead at the bottom, instead of being a solid bead like what I have on the gold Victorian angel, the silver Victorian angel uses a bead cap or kind of a shallower cone. And so I'm going to show you. So this is the bottom of the cone, and just for fun, we're going to string the cone without the bead inside first so that you can see what it looks like. Well, first of all, without the bead, the head pin is very wobbly. You can see that. And secondly, as you just saw, the hole in the cap, the bead cap, is fairly large. So we need some type of a stopper. So for that purpose, we're going to use, and it could be any bead, but I like using this faceted 6mm bead. So because it's a 6mm bead, it's going to hold our cone in place really well. But also the facets help because the facets really make the cone stay in place. Okay, so this is what it's going to look like. And of course, no one is actually going to see that bead on the inside, but it is serving a purpose.
Sabrina says, cute angels. Hello, Irina, Tony, Lauren, and everyone. Good morning.
Hi, Sabrina, and good morning to you. And now I have a 4mm Swarovski crystal that I'm stringing onto the head pin. So again, this is meant to just kind of give her a little bit more length and add that kind of an ethereal feel with the clear crystal. So now we have the wings, and this is what it looks like. And again, we're going to use a 6 millimeter bead for her head. And there's her head. And again, we have a pretty sparkly halo. And on top of the halo, just as before, we're going to string the 11-0 bead. So again, for the same reason, so that it's much, much easier to make that loop. And so when you make the loop, here I will show you what the finished piece looks like. In fact, here, I'm just going to take my angel in process and put her down here. And this is what the finished piece looks like. So again, we're just going to make a wrapped loop right on top of that 11-0 bead. And the 11-0 bead just kind of disappears right into that concave top of the rondelle. So you can't even see the 11-0 bead. You can't see it in either piece. So here, I'll show you the gold one as well. And the 11-0 seed bead is somewhere on the bottom of the wrap. So really, you can't see it. You're just making it a little bit easier for yourself, and you're making it possible to create a nice, tight wrap.
Katie S. says these earrings would also make cute ornaments for a Norfolk pine tree.
I don't know what a Norfolk pine tree looks like, but it sounds beautiful. I'll have to look that up. I love all sorts of pine trees. In fact, I love all sorts of trees. All right, guys, so we just covered our first 3 sets of earrings, all of our angels that are not dancing. So now we have a couple of dancing angels here. And I'm just going to show you how. So this technique, all of the technique that we're doing today is pretty similar. It's just a matter, as you saw, of adapting the technique to your components. So for these earrings, I wanted to have a component that moves. I love the idea of these faceted drops or texture drops. So you know what I'm debating between, do we make the larger pendant or do we make the earrings? What do you guys want to make? So they both move. They're constructed in the very same way. So just go ahead and pick one, and we'll make that one.
Katie S. says it's a house plant that looks like a small pine tree.
Oh my God, it sounds adorable. I am totally looking it up. Yeah, that would be a great ornament for a tiny little pine tree. I'm just imagining it. Okay, guys. So either you pick or I will pick. And so for this one, we are going to use 22 gauge wire. And as usual, we are going to make a 90-degree angle with our flat nose pliers. And this is going to be maybe like 1.25 inches from the end.
Lonnie says the larger one.
Okay, so you like my pendant angel.
Sabrina says I like the sparkle green drop. And Lori says the pendant.
Cool. So the sparkle green drop, I'm assuming you mean this one, right? Mm-hmm. It's actually medium vitriol, so it has the green and the pink and a little bit of orange in it.
Fonda says they should have them at Stein's all decorated this time of year, the Norfolk pines.
Oh, really? Oh, we'll have to stop by.
Trudy says, I have one and I have it decorated with bells and red ribbons.
Oh, nice. All right, guys. So I think maybe we're leaning towards the larger angel. So we will just we'll pick a bail making pliers, and I'm going to say I'm using the medium bail making pliers this time, the larger side of the medium bail making pliers. So it's going to be exactly the same as if we were making any wrapped loop, just a little larger. And so again, I always stop at half a loop. And now we're just going to cross over, and there is our loop. So this is the size of the loop. I'm going to say it's about 6 millimeters inside diameter, and exactly what we want. And now we're going to string our large drop right into the loop, and holding the loop with the chain nose pliers, we're going to start wrapping it. And again, this technique is going to be very, very similar to the angels that we have already made. And this is exactly the same technique we're going to be using for the earring angels. And so now I wrapped twice around, and now I'm just going to snip off that little bit of excess wire and pinch in the end. And now, just as before, we're going to string all the beads. So again, this is just a slightly different order of beads. So we have our wings, and right after you have the wings on, we're actually going to add a little 11-0 seed bead. You know, these 11-0 seed beads are so amazingly useful. I just find them very useful. So, well, you know what? Just for fun, I'm going to show you what it looks like without an 11-0 seed bead. And you can decide if you like it or not. So this is what it looks like. So it kind of looks a little bit like she doesn't have a neck. And I like her to have a neck because she's an elegant angel / fairy.
Trudy says, I didn't catch the size wire you were using.
I'm using 22 gauge wire, and thank you for asking, Trudy. So this is what it looks like. And of course, now she needs a halo. And again, whenever I use one of these rondelles, you know, the same shape rondelles for a halo, I am always going to use the 11-0 seed bead. I don't remember if I did that last year or not. I have certainly made other angel kits before, but I think this is a bit of an improvement. So this is what she looks like right now. And now we're just going to make a wrap loop. And I kind of want to finish her, finish making her, because I want to talk about the orientation of the loop. So on this angel, I'm going to make the top loop perpendicular to the bottom loop. So, well, I think it's perpendicular, and if not, we can always adjust once the loop is made. And I think I'm going to make a slightly larger loop, so I am using a medium bail making pliers, but this time I'm using the smaller side of the medium bail making pliers. And there's my loop, and it's just a tiny, tiny bit off center. So if you need to make a small adjustment, we can always do this just with our chain nose pliers. And now we are going to wrap just into that little space. So however many wraps you end up with, that is how many you're meant to have. And snip off the end of the wire. Always tuck in the tail. And so So it looks like the loop is perpendicular. Oh, actually, no, that's not what I meant to do. I just realized. So on my first one, I made it perpendicular. So on this one, I think I will make it parallel. Not a problem. It's a very, very easy fix. It's actually a little bit easier if you do it with your chain nose and your flat nose. And we're just going to realign the loops. And so why is it so important? Wait a minute, what did I just do? I don't know. Maybe I'm making too many projects at once. So, okay, this is actually what I meant to do. So we have one angel with a perpendicular loop, this guy right here, and we have one with a loop that's parallel. So the loop that's parallel is going to hang like a pendant. So here, we'll just pretend that this is a little chain. So this is going to hang like a pendant. And if you're making it as a pendant, that is just perfect. And if you are making it as an ornament, this is much better because, well, let's see. So this is one of my, okay, this loop is not quite large enough, but that's okay because I have, so my Christmas spider was sitting on the other plant stake. Here, we'll just put this angel right here.
Trudy says adorable.
Thank you so much. So for your Norfolk pines, you can always make an angel like this. And of course, if you're putting it on the pine, you don't necessarily have to have the hook. But you can make a little teeny tiny ornament hook, kind of like what we did the other week, maybe.
Sabrina says sweet.
Well, thank you so much, Sabrina. So that is why you would orient the loop one way or the other. In the meantime, I think I'll put my spider on the other hook. So he likes to hang out right here. Isn't he kind of fun? I'm just, I really love these Christmas spiders. I think it's because I really enjoy the story. And I think he looks very comfortable on my bamboo plant. Isn't that fun?
Joan says all are wonderful.
Oh, thank you so much, Joan. All right, ladies. So let's talk about the dancing angel earrings. So it's the same exact construction. So let's just talk about the loop at the bottom. So I made the loop at the bottom with the same larger side of the bail making pliers. So it's going to be the larger side. So we want roughly a 5 to a 6 millimeter diameter in the loop. And then of course the same exact thing, we have our wings. And then again, she needs to have a neck because without the seed bead, she looks like she doesn't have a neck. So that's an 11-0 seed bead, just like I did for the larger angel. And then we have a 6 millimeter pearl, a 6 millimeter rondelle. And again, there is an 11-0 seed bead at the top, followed by a wrap loop and an ear wire. Okay, so that is how you make the earrings, exactly the same as the pendant. And now we have I think she is the piece de resistance, of course. I think she is really fun. She's my dancing fairy, and we are going to make her next. And believe it or not, it's very, very similar to how we just made all the other angels. And so I called her the Christmas fairy. And now we are going to have a different version of her, and we're calling her the blue fairy. So we have all sorts of fun little components for the blue fairy. And of course, I think that either the Christmas fairy or the blue fairy is like perfect to put on one of those little plant stakes. So I'm just pouring all my beads on my work surface, and we will get started. So we are going to start by making her arms and legs. And I think, well, first we're going to undo our little wrap on a 22 gauge wire. This is exactly how you're going to get your wire when you order the kits. So, of course, I don't remember any measurements, so we are just going to estimate. And you always have a lot more than what you actually need. I just want you guys to know that. So it looks like for the legs, we are going to need about 5 inches. Actually, you know what, just to be on the safe side, we'll go with 5.5. And so this is going to be for her legs. So first thing we're going to do is use our round nose pliers and make a loop right in the center. So right in the center. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a very soft bend. This is what I call a U-turn, and we're going to make a little loop right in the center of this bend. But it's not really going to be the kind of loop we normally make. It's just a little coil. So literally all you do is make a full wrap and then a little extra wrap around your round nose pliers. So this is what it looks like.
Looks like I missed a couple comments from earlier. Lindsay says, good morning, Irina, Tony, Lauren, and all.
Oh, good morning, Lynn. I'm so glad you joined me.
And Denise says it's the weekend. Happy beading.
I believe you did read the comment from Denise.
Okay.
Yes, but it is a wonderful thing to do on the weekend. So yes, definitely. Happy beading. Excuse me, ladies. I'm just getting over a cold. So I need a little drink of water.
It is that time of the year.
It is that time of the year. That is very, very true. Okay. So now we're going to start stringing seed beads. So we're going to start stringing her legs right here. And we're just going to alternate the blue beads and the silver beads. So we have 8 O beads. And it looks like I started with a red bead. So I'll start with a blue bead this time. And what we're going for is 7 of each. And it doesn't have to be exactly 7. I guess she could have longer legs, she could have shorter legs. So I guess you will just have to decide. Maybe she's very long-legged, or maybe she's not. Maybe she's fun-sized.
Lonnie says it takes a long time to get over the cough.
It does.
Indeed it does.
Indeed. Thank you, Lonnie. Yes, it's that season. Okay, so I have 5 of each so far. So I need a couple more. And we're just going to continue alternating. So when you get to the last of your seed beads, however many you decide to have, we're going to string a 4mm Swarovski faceted round at the end.
Lindsay says, so sorry you were sick and glad you were much better.
Oh,
and send some love.
Thank you so much, Lynn. I really appreciate it. All right, ladies, and we're just going to make a 90-degree angle, and we're going to do the same thing for her other leg. So, as I said earlier, this is very similar to how we made the other fairies and angels. But the only difference is that first we have to make a couple of components, and those are going to be her limbs. So we are just going to string the beads for her other leg. And again, so far I have 5 of each. So just a few more.
Elizabeth says, love it.
Yay! Thank you so much, Elizabeth. Okay, so I believe I have enough seed beads, and now we're just going to string another 4mm Swarovski bead. Okay, so we'll just take a quick look, make sure that her legs are pretty much the same length, and yeah, I don't think I missed anything. And again, we are going to make a 90-degree angle. So what we're going to do with the remaining wire is make a couple of spirals, and those spirals are going to be her little fairy feet. And so I'm just starting each spiral with a little loop in the center. And this is something I do a lot, so you guys are probably experts at spirals by now. But just in case you're not, I have a couple of videos just on making spirals where I break everything down into the minutia of steps. And so it's very easy to learn to make a really good spiral. But in the meantime, I'm just using my flat nose pliers and squeezing those little loops a little further so that the center of each spiral is pretty small. And so now, as I'm guiding the wire with my finger, I am opening and closing my flat nose pliers like this, and we're just going to keep going until we run out of wire. And there are different ways to do this, but generally when I work with pretty small diameter wire, and I would consider 22 gauge to be on the smaller side, this is a technique that works for me really well. You might see a video where I work with a slightly larger diameter wire, so I might be taking a different approach. Okay, so now all I'm doing is just bending her legs. We can also bend her feet up if we want to. I think this is kind of fun. All right, so we just made fairy legs, yay. And next we're going to make fairy arms. And to make fairy arms, we are going to need about, I'm going to just estimate her arm length. So I will say maybe about 3 inches for her arms. So I'm just going to, you know, again, just to be on the safe side, I'm going to make it 3.5 inches. So again, we used 5.5 inches for her legs, and we're going to use 3.5 inches for her arms. And we're going to start in the very same way where we make that soft bend, And then we are going to make a little loop, or I should probably say a little loop and a half, because this is what it looks like. It almost looks like a safety pin, like the one side of the safety pin. Okay, so now we are going to string our beads, but this time we are actually starting with our Swarovski beads. So the reason I decided to start with the Swarovski beads this time is because I thought she needs shoulders, because you know, she just looked a little funny without the shoulders. Here, let me show you her shoulders right there. Okay, so we're starting with the Swarovski faceted round beads, and this time we are going to string 4 of each bead onto our wire. Again, we're just going to alternate, unless of course you like some other pattern, in which case you can change things. You can ad-lib, you can make her however it seems right. Okay, so I believe this is 4 beads of each no, wait, can I count? Yes, I can. No, it's actually 5 beads of the silver, which is okay. I think that's exactly what I did for the Christmas fairy. And now we are going to make a 90-degree angle. And this time I'm just going to leave a little tiny bit of room between the end bead and my 90-degree angle. And this side is going to become, you probably guessed it, it's going to become her hand. And of course, all this is just a little abstract, so it's going to be another spiral. And once you've made that little loop, we are going to cut off any excess wire and make the loop a little smaller. And now we're going to use our flat nose pliers to actually spiral the wire. So you're probably wondering why I left that little bit of space. Normally, we only leave a little bit of space when we have a wrap loop to do. But this time I left a little bit of space so that it's very easy to slide everything and make it fit once we start the assembly. So that's the reason. And now we're going to mirror the other, this side with the other side. But we're going to finish in just a slightly different way. Okay, so again, I'm starting with the Swarovski bead, and I'm just going to alternate my seed beads until I have maybe 4 and 4, or maybe 4 and 5, you know, whatever feels right at the time. And so here are all my beads. And this time, I'm going to finish her arm with a little loop. I think, you know what, I think I estimated the wire a little close. So I think what we'll do is, before we package these, we'll probably add a little bit more wire to the kit. Because there's enough, but there's just barely enough. So we'll make sure that you guys have a little bit more wire. Okay, so now I'm making a wrapped loop. And so there's my loop. And if you're wondering why it is that we're making a wrap loop on the one side when we made the spiral on the other side, that is because she's going to hold a dainty little lantern in her hand. And
Trudy says shoulder bead there.
a shoulder bead there? Well, the shoulder beads are right here where her shoulders are. I think maybe we got the message a little bit late. That's what I'm assuming.
Oh, she says yes. I see it now.
Yes. So I'll show you her arms just as soon as I finish this loop. And I am just pinching in that little tail that you always have to pinch in. And there we go. Okay, so here are her shoulders. And now she just needs a little lantern in her hand. And for the lantern, we have the head pin. And I'm looking for this rondelle that she needs for the lantern. And I'm not finding the rondelle. Okay, I just found a different rondelle. Where did her rondelle go? I saw it earlier. I don't know. It may have fallen down.
Is it under the cap?
Is it under the cap?
No.
No. Well, it is a mystery, but you know what? That's okay. I'm just going to steal a rondelle from somewhere else. And she really is meant to have a little rondelle just like this one. So, you know what? Let's do this. I'm going to ask Tony to bring me a rondelle. You think you can find a rondelle, right? And in the meantime, we're just going to do a little shop update. And we're going to do a little preview. How is that? So we have a little break. And
Katie says, love the extra touch with a lantern.
oh, thank you so much, Katie. I just want to make sure that I use the right rondelle because I think the really sparkly rondelle goes so nicely either with the red or the blue. So the red fairy is the Christmas fairy and the blue fairy is the blue fairy. So, or actually, you can also call her the Hanukkah fairy if you know somebody who celebrates Hanukkah, or maybe you do. Well, actually, you know somebody who celebrates Hanukkah. It is me. Okay. So for the shop update, if you watched last night's video, you already saw that I finally made the winter tree. So I hope you like my winter tree. And so this is made in exactly the same way as our summer tree, as well as our spring and fall tree.
Trudy says they are so cute.
Oh, thank you so much, Trudy.
Gail says, I love the metal bell skirt.
Oh, yay, thank you. It's pretty whimsical, isn't it?
Lindsay says, I thought she was carrying a purse, but I like the idea of a lantern.
Well, you know, she's running through the woods with her little magical lantern. All right, so to make her lantern, and thank you, Tony, for bringing me the correct rondelle.
My pleasure.
Yay! And we have the rondelle. See, it's kind of a magical rondelle. I really wanted to use that. Isn't it cute with the blue? It really picks up all the different colors. And now we just need one more of the round Swarovski faceted beads. And now we're going to start making a wrapped loop in exactly the same way as we always do, by bending the wire to a 90-degree angle. And then we're going to make half a loop and guide the wire all the way and center the loop. And so we should have a 90-degree again, or something pretty close to it.
Gail says, I'm going to watch this video now and make a tree for my grandson.
Oh, that's so cute. Thank you so much, Gail.
Fonda says the lantern adds a very fun and cute touch.
Thank you, Fonda. Yeah, I'm so glad you like it too. Okay, so here we go. We have the lantern connected now to her hand. And so we'll just wrap the wire. And just because I had a little more wire end left, I decided to go in the opposite direction to make an organic loop. And of course you can make either a regular wrapped loop or an organic wrapped loop. And so now we have her arms. And of course her arms are going to be a little bit bent at the elbow. And we can always tweak the legs and the arms once we do the final assembly. Okay, so now we should have head pins somewhere, and somehow we don't. But that's okay. We'll just steal a head pin from somewhere else. And so because we are using that bead cap I know why we don't have a head pin. Okay, you guys. Sometimes, you know, when a few days kind of pass and I kind of forget exactly what I did and how I made it. I mean, it's easy enough. But then I start looking for a head pin that's not really supposed to be there. Okay, so actually, she doesn't have a head pin. She has a wire. And the reason she has a wire is because we need to connect to her legs. And I am really hoping that I think I have enough wire here. But as I said, we are going to make sure that you have more wire than I do for the video. So we're going to start with our leftover wire, and we're going to make a wrapped loop. And before we wrap the loop, we're going to connect to her set of legs. So there we go. And because she has that whimsical hollow bead cap, it's a very large bead cap, we're going to use the same technique as we did for the smaller angels. And we are going to, I guess I didn't quite cut this. And we're going to use a stopper bead, you know, the bead that keeps everything in place and also makes everything nice and sturdy. So we're going to have that additional bead, and I'm just pinching the little wire at the end. So we're going to have that additional bead, and this is another faceted bead. Again, I like using these faceted bead for stabilizing my piece because they just happen to work so well. Okay, so here is the little skirt, and now we are going to string a 4 millimeter bead onto our wire. And then we have, you know what, I'm missing one other little thing. This is so odd because I have a feeling that I spilled a few things. So what I'm going to need is, what do I need? Yes, I need this very, very tiny little daisy spacer. And I apologize, you guys, you know, it's like you have everything and then there's so much of it, and some of the components, I don't know where they go. But again, I'm just asking Tony to grab me a little spacer. But in the meantime, we are going to have another little preview. And so for next week, I'm going to be making these very, very simple necklaces for New Year's Eve. And these are very elegant and very sparkly. So this is one of the projects that we're going to be creating next week. And in the meantime, Tony is back with a daisy spacer. Yay, he saved the day. So we can continue. And we will come back to my elegant New Year's project in just a little bit.
Suni is wondering, is your stopper bead 6 millimeter?
My stopper bead is, I believe it's either 5 or 6 millimeters. Okay, guys, so next we are going to string the wings. And this is where that teeny little daisy comes into play. It's pretty important because without the daisy, it just doesn't quite lay right. And so on top of the daisy spacer, we're going to put her set of arms. Okay, and we'll make sure that the arms go in the right direction. Although I do have to warn you, they do tend to move a little bit, especially until we make everything secure. And now we have her head, which of course is a beautiful Swarovski pearl. And once you have her head, she has a 3-part headdress. So she has, here, let me show you. She has a little star spacer, or a star bead cap rather, for her head. And then we're going to put this very ostentatious flower on top of her head. And then we have a little Swarovski bead filling the top of the flower. And that Swarovski bead is really important because it actually serves exactly the same purpose as the 11O seed bead that's on top of these other angels. And I'm realizing that I really didn't have enough of the 22 gauge wire, well, as I said earlier. So I think what I'll do is, for now, I'm just going to give her a plain loop at the top, which is somewhat acceptable, but my preference is always a wrap loop, and I think I'm going to swap it out later. It'll take me, about a minute to swap it out, so it's not a big deal. But just so that we can see what she looks like finished, I'm going to make a simple loop, and you can decide. You can make a simple loop or you can make a wrap loop. I would probably recommend the wrap loop. But this is what she looks like. So what do you guys think? I think she's really sweet. I love the blue, and we'll put her arms in front of her wings because, of course, the wings are always in back, right? I mean, how else would she fly? Okay, and so there is our sweet little fairy.
Suni says, absolutely adorable.
Oh, thank you so much, Suni. So here are their sisters. They're just going to be side by side. So do you guys have a favorite one?
Gail says she's so adorable.
Oh, thank you so much.
Fonda says, too adorable. I love both colors.
Thank you. So we have the Christmas fairy and we have the blue fairy.
And the blue fairy will be listing this afternoon.
Absolutely. And you know what? Just for fun, to see what she looks like on a plant stake. We'll put her up here. And this is what she looks like. And this is what she looks like from the side. Ta-da! Okay, so I hope you guys picked your favorites. So everything but the blue fairy is listed in the Etsy shop, and she will be listed in the Etsy shop, I would say, in about an hour and a half or so. Okay, guys.
Lonnie says both are so cute.
Thank you so much, Lonnie. All right, so this is everything we made today. Look at how many projects we got through.
Suni says, I would probably paint eyes, nose, and a mouth on the pearl.
Oh my gosh, you're just too cute, Suni.
Katie says, so fun.
Thank you so much, Katie.
Gail says, both together are very patriotic.
Oh, thank you. Yes, you're absolutely right. And you know what? On the 4th of July, they already have a plan for, they're going to have a barbecue, a fairy barbecue on the 4th. What do you think?
I think that'll go very well.
Oh, very well. I like that.
Sabrina says, I like them all, but the blue fairy.
But the blue fairy, is that with a comma or I don't know.
Is my favorite.
Oh, very good. Thank you. I was like, wow, is that a comma? But no, I'm glad you like the blue fairy.
Gail says, love it.
Thank you so much, Gail.
Lori says, thank you so much. I love all of these.
Thank you so much. All right, guys, so we made our fairies, we made our angels. So again, let me, I know this has been a little kind of disorganized because somehow I misplaced a couple of things, but let's do a little preview for next week again. So, for New Year's Eve, we have our very elegant necklace with just a single bead. And yes, of course, I'm going to show you exactly how to put it on a chain. There's a little tiny trick as far as getting it on the chain in the first place. And then, of course, we'll finish it with all the accoutrement, like the clasp and the little bauble at the end to make it that much more elegant. And this is the New Year's Elegance necklace. And we're going to be doing this on Thursday, December 22nd at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time on my page.
Reminds me of the Times Square ball that drops.
And that's exactly the inspiration. I was really thinking about the Times Square ball, but also this is just a little bit different than the Times Square ball. It's a little bit more vintagey, and I think it's very elegant.
Gail says, whoa.
Oh, well, thank you for your whoa, Gail.
Lori says, so pretty.
Thank you so much. And again, in the spirit of the holidays, and yes, we have all sorts of holidays coming up. We have Christmas and Hanukkah and New Year's Eve. And for New Year's Eve, we are going to be making a set of stacker bracelets. I call them elegant boho stacker bracelets. And yes, boho can be elegant. So these are, well, to me, these are definitely New Year's colors, the black and white and silver. So this is pretty iconic of New Year's Eve.
Kathy D says, hi, Irina and Tony and all. And yes, Tony on that. I think that's in regards to the ball, crystal ball inspiration.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, who
and
doesn't
says,
love
those.
watching? Oh, thank you so much. So the elegant boho bracelets we're going to be making on Friday, December 23rd, Central Standard Time on the Eclectica page.
Gail says, fun.
Yay, thank you so much, Gail. I really appreciate it. Okay, guys, so I believe we just finished and previewed everything. And just in case, if anybody missed my ornament sun catchers. I'm going to put a couple of sun catchers here as well. And this, of course, was our video last night. And this is a very, very fun little simple project. Very simple, but I think it has so much sparkle and fun.
Lori says, love the boho bracelets.
Thank you so much, Lori.
And Suni says, happy Hanukkah.
Thank you, Suni, and happy Hanukkah to you as well. And everyone who is watching, you guys, happy Hanukkah and Merry Christmas. And I will see you next week. In the meantime, thank you so much for your sweet comments and have a wonderful and creative weekend.